Stay with us, this gets deeper. Did you know that much of what is attributed to the ancient Greeks, from philosophy to mathematics, may have originated in Africa? For centuries, a narrative has been perpetuated that Western civilization, particularly its intellectual foundations, was solely the product of Greek genius. But what if this narrative is a carefully constructed myth, designed to erase the contributions of African civilizations, specifically ancient Egypt, also known as Kemet? Today, we're diving deep into the stolen legacy, a theory that challenges the traditional Eurocentric view of history and reveals the African roots of Western thought. The cornerstone of this argument lies in the book Stolen Legacy by George, published in 1954. James, a Guyanese-American scholar, meticulously argues that many of the philosophical and scientific concepts attributed to the Greeks were actually derived from Egyptian mystery schools and knowledge systems. He asserts that figures like Pythagoras, Plato, and Aristotle, often hailed as the fathers of Western thought, spent considerable time studying in Egypt, absorbing the wisdom of Kemetic priests and scholars. James's central thesis is that this African knowledge was then systematically appropriated and repackaged by the Greeks, who later claimed it as their own original discoveries. But is there evidence to support this claim? The answer, according to many scholars, is a resounding yes. Consider the field of mathematics. While Pythagoras is credited with the Pythagorean theorem, evidence suggests that Egyptians were using this principle centuries before his birth, in their construction of the pyramids and other monumental structures. Similarly, the Greeks are often credited with the development of geometry. However, the Rhind Papyrus, an ancient Egyptian mathematical text dating back to around 1650 BC, demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of geometric principles and problem-solving techniques. In the realm of philosophy, the concept of the soul, the nature of reality, and ethical principles are all topics explored in ancient Egyptian texts like the Book of the Dead and the teachings of Stay With Us, This Gets Deeper. Amenemope. These texts predate the Greek philosophers and demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of metaphysics and morality. Moreover, the very structure of Greek mystery schools, which served as centers of learning and initiation, mirrors the structure of the Egyptian mystery schools. Scholars argue that the Greeks adopted not only the knowledge but also the pedagogical methods of the Egyptians. Now, why would such a historical erasure occur? George argues that the appropriation of African knowledge was driven by a desire to legitimize Western dominance and to create a narrative of European intellectual superiority. By claiming that the Greeks were the sole originators of Western thought, Europeans could justify their colonial conquests and their subjugation of other peoples. The stolen legacy theory is not without its critics. Some scholars argue that there is insufficient direct evidence to prove that the Greeks directly plagiarized Egyptian texts. They point out that intellectual exchange and cross-cultural influence were common in the ancient world. However, proponents of the stolen legacy argue that the sheer volume of evidence, coupled with the historical context of racial bias and colonial power dynamics, makes a compelling case for re-evaluating the traditional narrative. The implications of the stolen legacy are profound. If African civilizations were indeed the intellectual forerunners of Western civilization, then our understanding of history needs to be fundamentally revised. This would mean acknowledging the contributions of African scholars and thinkers who have been systematically erased from the historical record. It would also mean challenging the Eurocentric bias that continues to permeate our education system and our understanding of the world. The stolen legacy is more than just a historical theory, it's a call to action. It's a call to reclaim the truth, to challenge the status quo, and to recognize the intellectual contributions of all cultures and civilizations. It's time to rewrite the narrative and to acknowledge the African roots of Western thought. Subscribe to Punna Afrik for more African history and wealth wisdom. Follow for more untold African stories.